Recently I came into possession of a huge cardboard box, and inside this cardboard box was more DVDs than any one man could ever need. After a long, tedious process of cataloging every single disc in this box and every single disc on my shelves into a big list, I realized that I've only actually seen 55% of the movies that I own. Well, that's a bit embarrassing, so obviously I have to remedy that, so join me if you want, as I go one by one through all the films I own but haven't seen. So the idea of 16 Blocks is that crusty old, tired, sick of his life New York cop Bruce Willis has to take key witness Mos Def, yeah, that one, from police custody, chuck him in a car, and drive him, you guessed it, 16 blocks to a courthouse where he can blow the lid on every single corrupt cop in New York, of which there is a lot, if you can believe it. But obviously these corrupt cops don't want this guy getting where he needs to be, so they try to stop him through the power of love and friendship and using their words like big boys. No, I'm kidding. One witness, 118 minutes, 16 blocks, and about 9 million crooked cops to get in their way. It's a cool concept. And with a concept that cool, and a director like Richard Donner at the helm, it's gotta be a hit. Right? Right?
Yu-Gi-Oh! You ever heard of Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh! Kids love that, man.
There's one thought that I'm confident will go through every person's head while they watch 16 Blocks. Maybe, give or take 10 minutes in, they'll think, this is a Die Hard movie. Bruce Willis, a New York cop circumstantially forced into doing some crazy exciting race against time where he's partnered up with some kooky, crazy character he's just met. Have I seen this movie before? This sounds really familiar.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
It feels like Richard Donner just made a Die Hard movie in secret, but he wasn't able to secure the rights, so he just slapped the name 16 Blocks on it. And I don't think that's a bad thing in concept, I really don't. Taking inspiration from things is totally fine. Everybody knows that. Everybody does it. It's fine. I actually think this is a better Die Hard movie than some of the actual Die Hard movies. For example, let's think about Rango. Great movie. Love Rango. Who doesn't love Rango? I watched that movie and it is so very obvious that it's inspired by Chinatown, directed by the unanimously non-controversial, all-around just good dude, Roman Polanski. But even though I can see the inspiration there as if it were this funny little pirate statue before my eyes, I still think they're both awesome movies in their own right. When I turn on Rango every night before I go to bed, I'm not thinking, man, I just kind of wish I was watching Chinatown instead. Johnny Depp is a lizard, how could you not love that? But on the other hand, when I was watching 16 Blocks, I was kind of thinking, you know what'd be cool? If this was Die Hard, that would be cool. I'd like that a lot. Instead of a Rango Chinatown dynamic, it's unfortunately more of a Joker King of Comedy dynamic, you know? There are things I like about 16 Blocks, I promise there are. But I also think it's missing a lot of what makes its inspiration so great. So let's talk about those. The two biggest problems with 16 Blocks in my eyes are the pacing and the writing. Oh boy. A lot of this movie is an exciting, entertaining action movie. And then every few minutes it just slams on the brakes and grinds to a halt to let Bruce Willis or David Morse, who by the way, sidetrack, I'm convinced this dude is just Simon Pegg in old age makeup. You've come a long way since Paul, buddy. Take a break and monologue about some stuff that happened in the past that we never actually get to see. The pacing in this movie, you know that video of that guy on the lawnmower and he can't quite work out how to actually drive it and he's just like that's what the pacing of this movie is like. It gives you whiplash. That's such a good video. But this is what really frustrates me the most about this movie. I have no problem with breaking the whole show don't tell rule in movies. I know that's like the golden rule, but a good movie can break any rule and still be a good movie, you know? There was this movie that came out last year called The Gulf of Silence, and that whole movie is pretty much just a woman sitting in front of a camera telling the audience a story, and it's awesome. It was one of my favorite movies of last year because the writing is so good, and it's very consistently paced, Great movie. Highly, 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 highly recommend you go watch that. I could forgive the bad pacing in 16 Blocks if the writing was really good. If the things that these characters were saying really, really grabbed me by the heart and I actually cared, then I could forgive it. But, oh my god, dude, the dialogue is so bad.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
I hate to be rude, because I really do think they tried. I don't think this movie was just thrown together to make some cash, and I respect that. There was an effort here. But, oh man, the dialogue scenes in 16 Blocks are so detached and boring. It's just an onslaught of crooked cop mumbo jumbo that we've heard a million times, and it gets old really, really quick. If I had a dime for every time I heard this exact exchange in every single other movie I've ever seen, holy shit. Richard Donner is a great director, and he works with a lot of excellent writers on most of his movies. Steven Spielberg and Christopher Columbus. Steven Spielberg and Chris Columbus wrote The Goonies. Shane Black wrote Lethal Weapon. Mario Puzo, among others, wrote Superman, etc., etc. It bums me out that 16 Blocks doesn't fit snug into that list like I hoped it would. Anyway, the presentation. The presentation is actually okay for the most part. There are a few things here and there that I wasn't crazy about. The music is really overbearing. There's one scene where Bruce and Mos Def, I really can't believe I just said that, are walking down the street together, and the music is just going crazy with these ear-bleeding drums, and it's a lot to deal with. Like, they're just going for a nice little stroll down the street, and it's a lot to deal with. My god. And it makes it worse too, because the scene I think it's literally right after that scene, is an action sequence with no music at all, and it makes it a million times better. This is really cool. This is really cool. I like this a lot. This movie would be like 10 times more epic if this is what the whole movie was. This is like so much better without the music too, without the drums, and then also the editing, which was not always bad. It did the job. Was pretty rough at points, specifically during some of the action scenes. It was sometimes hard to tell what was even going on. That was a rare-ish complaint, so I'm just kind of grasping at straws there. It was fine most of the time. Can't complain too much. So now that I'm done being a dick, let's set up a bit of a happy ending here and move on to the things that I like about the movie, because believe it or not, there are actually a couple things. Number one, Brucey boy, my main man. The number one thing holding this movie together is Bruce. Easily. It's always nice to go back and watch something where you can tell he actually gave a shit about the movie he's in, because it's been too long since I've been able to put the words Bruce and care in the same sentence without some green thrown in there somewhere, you know what I mean? He's really good in 16 Blocks. He embodies being this dried up old cop so well, it's like he was born to do it. Without him, I do kind of think this movie would be lost, because going back in my notes, I don't really have a lot of nice things to say other than, man, Bruce is killing it. Bruce is doing so good. Look at him. Oh, he's awesome. God bless you, Bruce. He has a lot of really good little character moments, like when his paranoid old ass almost shoots this poor guy because he closes the garbage bin. Or this scene in the bar when he decides to take the high road and save little old Mos Def. You can tell he's really trying, and I really respect him for it. Good job, Brucey boy. You carried this movie, you really did. The other little things that I liked about this movie are so brief that there's not really any point in having them be separate little sections. So let's go through them. Maybe this is just a breath of fresh air after some of the action movies I've seen recently, but I always like seeing practical effects. Watching a real bus crash will always be fun to me, no matter the movie it's in. I always like watching real things blow up. Maybe it's just my ape brain speaking, but it's fun. This one, I'm not gonna lie, is grasping at straws a little bit, but I like the payoff with Mos Def's little notebook. From the moment we meet him, he's always going on and on and on about this stupid little notebook that he has. And it's like the most important thing on the planet to him. And later on, it's revealed that it's a recipe book he's been working on because he wants to get out of the criminal life and open up a bakery with his estranged sister. You know, it's a little corny. I will not deny that. But there's some heart to it, so, you know, I thought it was alright. I'm a sucker for some heart, what can I say? So, that was 16 Blocks. Not a whole lot to say about this one, honestly. I was expecting the first episode of this thing to be a bit longer, but I really can't come up with more than 2 pages of things to say about this movie without just nitpicking every little thing, and that's no fun. It's a faux Die Hard that has some pretty nasty pacing and writing issues, but a real good Bruce Willis performance, tying everything down. 16 blocks, if I had to give it a rating, would get 2.5 out of 5 for me. It might go down to a 2 if I ever watched again, which I honestly don't think I will, but for now I'm going to stick to a 2.5. I respect what the movie was trying to do, it's just a shame that it didn't come together all that well. Lovely. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed Disc Dump. Hi. Can I help you? Do you have anything to say? Anyway, back to the movie. Tucker, can you maybe skedaddle? Can you? Yeah. Go ahead. Oh my God. Give her. There we go. Thank you. Bye, darling. Do it. Shoot him in the cock. Shoot him in the cock, Brucey boy. Yeah.